Now, time to talk a little politics and religion here. The Romney-Ryan campaign represents something we've actually never seen before. You have a Mormon and a Catholic together on the same ticket. And since Vice President Joe Biden is also a Catholic, that means President Obama is the only Protestant on the ballot for either party. I want to talk about this with Jeff Pugh. He's an author and professor of religious studies at Elon University in North Carolina. So, Jeff, welcome to you. And just first things first, is this really that big of a deal, the fact that we only have one Protestant here in the race for the White House?
It's probably not that big of a deal, actually. I think what's a bigger deal is the fact that we have two communities represented in both the Mormon and the Catholic community who had previously been seen as marginalized communities in the American public, and now they stand at the top of the Republican ticket.
You know, Paul Ryan has said his Catholic beliefs really infused his big budget ideas, but the Conference of Bishops has very much so criticized his budget. I've interviewed, if you will, one of the lead nuns. Remember the nuns on the bus tour? I know she told me she certainly didn't like it. She's still hoping for a meeting with Congressman Ryan. One of the nuns is Sister Simone Campbell, and she said this about Paul Ryan. I'm quoting her, quote, "He is a faithful Catholic, but he is misguided." What will Paul Ryan make? Will he make a big difference when it comes to Catholic support for Mitt Romney, you think?
Well, it's an interesting dynamic in this election because with the two vice presidential candidates, you have different visions of Catholicism being represented. You have Joe Biden on the one hand, the sort of ethnic neighborhood, working class Catholic background. You have Mr. Ryan on the other hand, who represents sort of a different Catholic background. So in a sense, one of the most interesting dynamics that can come out of this particular election will be an accountability moment for the religious communities that are involved. When the Catholics start to define themselves, are they going to define themselves more in terms of pro-life, contraception? Will they define themselves more in terms of social witness, social gospel? So you have, in some senses, competing visions that actually exist within that large, diverse tent of Catholicism that will be an interesting conversation as we go forward. Whose vision of Catholicism will be the one that will be most attractive to the American people?
That's interesting. So among Catholics, that's something to watch for, to be emerging. And we also have Mitt Romney. Of all the ads we talked about here last week, Mitt Romney, the campaign, they ran this ad last week declaring that President Obama has waged a war on religion. Here's part of that.
President Obama used his health care plan to declare war on religion, forcing religious institutions to go against their faith. Mitt Romney believes that's wrong. When religious freedom is threatened, who do you want to stand with?
I'm Mitt Romney, and I approve this message.
Here's what I wanted to know from you. Here we are, we're in August, 3 months out. What kind of sign is it that Mitt Romney is still trying to appeal to the religious base?
Well, I think it's an interesting move to sort of make this decision to go after a religious war rhetoric. It's unfortunate, the war rhetoric is unfortunate altogether, but the fact of the matter is that from a religious community standpoint, the community of Mormonism had always been portrayed by the dominant religious community of Protestantism and evangelical Protestantism as the other, as the stranger, as the one that was being waged war against. And now Mr. Romney is sort of ironically turning that on its head and waging war from his perspective against the Protestant establishment, if you will, represented by Mr. Obama in the White House. So it's an interesting move to make, this shift.
Do you think, though, quickly, that bringing all these sort of religions or religious differences together, that ideology, in the case of Mitt Romney, ideology is trumping theology?
I would absolutely say that that's the case, but I think that's the case in politics altogether. It's very seldom the case that theology actually centers and guides ideology in the political order as much as we think. So while I've read Mr. Ryan's statements on the fact that Catholic social teaching and Catholic doctrine guides his particular budgetary processes and stuff, I think that's going to be the issue as we go forward is what vision of Catholicism, in fact, does undergird or guide his budgetary process. The one that the United States Conference Catholics of Bishops had some questions about and said disproportionately disfavor the poor.
Yep. Jeff Pugh, Elon University, thanks for being with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We are getting some new information here with regard to the multiple shots fired, several injuries here. Texas A&M University just off campus. New information. Got that for you after the break.